I want to start by saying this is what I do for a living. I'm intrigued and believe in hidden stories, and I dedicated my life to understand the hidden stories of organizations. I graduated from Bosphorus University in 1993 and then moved to Texas, from Texas to New York. And I came across to a practice which I was very intrigued about. It's an identity consulting practice. When I went to the first meeting to meet with the management team, they asked me, "Who are you?" And I said, that's a tough question to answer because I don't know who I am. From outside, I'm a Turkish woman, I'm a Muslim woman, but inside, it's a process. We go through the process to understand who we are. And after 10 minutes, they said, you have the job. This is what we do for a living. And I worked at Siegel & Gale for like 10 years. I became a partner there, and this is what we did for a living. We helped organizations understand who they are. And I work with Fortune 500 companies, lots of banks, insurance companies, healthcare, the government, and we always answer the same questions. Who are we? Who are these people? And sometimes it's a company that consists of 10,000 people, sometimes a global company. The question is simple, the answer is hard. So this is what I do. And so when you embrace this practice or this mindset, this whole identity mindset, the results can be really powerful. It's usually positive change. You understand the shared passion, positive transformation. The word I love is engagement. Everybody's engaged. Everybody understands the shared issues, problems, opportunities, everything. And then you can clearly define and understand the collective identity. When I was preparing these pages for TurkishWIN this morning, I really came across an insight, and I'm going to go to the next page. Usually, when you develop your career, when you build your career, you go from small to large. And when I realized, I'm going to go back to the page, I went from large to small. And I worked at Siegel & Gale. I worked with, as I said, I consulted Fortune 500 companies. Then 6 years ago, I moved to Turkey. I consulted big banks. I worked at some M&A, merger and acquisition projects, Turkish Telecom and Turkcell, and some big, large projects. And then you probably heard of Grupanya. It's I think, one of the great stories in internet business because it grew really fast. And it was one of the fastest projects, fastest companies I was involved in. And I ran the company for 2.5 years. And after 2.5 years, I got burned out. I have 2 kids. I hadn't seen my kids for 2 years. I didn't pick them up from school, and I said, that's enough. I don't have to work at a fast company. But there I realized it's really fascinating to start a company and to work in a small environment. When I first started my career, I was fascinated by those Fortune 500 companies. And again, it's obviously a huge success to build sustainable organizations, but I think more importantly and more fun than that is to build a company, to build an enterprise, to build an initiative. And I was very much fascinated by size and scale, and now I'm very much fascinated by impact. And impact is not always related with size. It's really bring people together, just like TurkishWIN, who believe and are engaged in that initiative. So after I resigned my position, I have a board seat at Grupanya. I love the company, I believe in the business, but I decided not to work in a fast business. It's just like the slow foods movement. I said, I want to have a slow business. And the pendulum swung this way, and I said, you know what? There was one thing that bothered me a lot when I was running Grupanya. It was the fierce competition and ugly competition. The competition was bad, and I said, I'm going to do something. I learned a lesson, and I'm going to create an initiative where I'm going to be asking companies who work in these fierce competition sectors to be part of a network, which is Istanbul Champions Cup. And what I did, which was an initiative I started last May of 2012, I asked companies to build tennis teams. And everybody said, why tennis? Because tennis has no gender bias. The same rules apply to men and women and people of all ages. When I asked companies, what kind of sports teams do you have? And they said, of course, soccer, football, basketball. And I said, what are the women's teams. What do women do? So I said, tennis is a Class C sport. Everybody at every age, my child who's 5 years old plays tennis. My father who's 73 plays tennis. And I said, we'll start with tennis. And then in like 2 months, we really went to all of these companies. We could not close any of these clients on the phone because we had to convince them they had to build a tennis team. And it was really, it's just tennis team. They are going to play tennis. And they say, oh, we have man tennis players, we don't have women's. Well, that's my mission. First of all, it's just 2 weeks of playing tennis with your competitors. And again, there were some companies here who said, my competitor is there, I'm not going to build a tennis team, I'm not going to be part of the tournament. I said, that validates my mission. So my mission is to grow this network. There's a network effect. And we had a wonderful time. The tournament was at the end of September. And then we realized you can be part of change. And change doesn't always have to be a big change. It's not changing the world. I'm not changing the world. I'm just asking organizations to have a different perspective towards their employees, towards their cultures. And it's just a 2 weeks sports event in a year where you play against your competitors. It's that simple. So it's the opposite of Grupanya, where we had this big mission, big dollars, investment. I said, this is going to be slow business, and I'm going to make that impact. After the tournament, half of these companies now have sports clubs. And there were some CEOs in these companies who said, rather than working and doing your job or creating presentations, why are you going to a tennis tournament? I heard that myself. And I said, that's a shame, because these tennis, the matches were after 7 p.m. and on the weekends. So the mindset have to change. Organizations have to change. Organizations are not collections of, we are not robots. So we produce better when we are happier. We produce better when we know the competition. We produce better when we know what we like. And productivity is not always related with the hours you put in. It's your passion, it's your mindset, it's your commitment. So this is what I did. And we said everything we do around this tournament, Istanbul Champions Cup, it needs to have that nice touch. And we asked an industrial designer to design the trophy. And it's a beautiful trophy. It's just big. It's very hard. It's a heavy trophy. And the top symbolizes the tension between the sports mindset or sport and the business world. It's a tension coming together, and it's basically coming like apart from each other. And that's the story we told. The story we told is, come be part of this, and we don't care who you are, whether you are CEO or CFO, doesn't matter, a salesperson, you're going to be playing here with your tennis rackets, not with your business cards. And we said, and this was the message. We said, be part of the game. Just change the game. It's a slow change. Just be part of it. So I'm seeing that as a movement. And I said, it was one tournament and many feelings. We asked a sports photographer to photograph these amateur players. These are people, managers. Again, some of these people really work at their desks 8 hours a day. But when they saw their photographs, it was fascinating because they looked like professionals. So we said one tournament, but many feelings. But we said, it's one team. So that's what I did. And it was really a fun project for me. It will continue. And this year, what we are doing is we separated tennis into two. It's the first league and the second league. The top 10 teams are going to play in Tennis Masters, and the other companies where we are hoping to have 25, 30 companies in September. That's going to be tennis. And we are adding another sports, running, because with tennis, one of the challenges was you need to have tennis skills. So you cannot come tomorrow and play tennis with us, but everybody can run. So this year it's not going to be in March, it's going to be in April, but we're going to be asking the same companies, and more than 25 companies hopefully, to come run with their company t-shirts or flags, whatever. But that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to change the mindset of companies. it's a simple mission, and I love it.